Hi, and welcome in. I'm the deaf writer, captain of the starship Pentameter. A year ago, I was kidnapped and transported 1 billion light years into space. For reasons unknown, deep thought, an alien intelligence that survives in deep space presented me with a starship and told me to seek my destiny, whatever that might be. It turns out my kidnapping occurred just as a monumental disaster struck my homeworld, and I'm now the last human being alive, seeking to preserve human culture by broadcasting poetry into the galaxy once a week. An empty, barren landscape. That's what we found where a thriving Krell colony was supposed to be. Krell Outpost 21372 has, to all intents and purposes, vanished out of existence. On the surface of the planet we found an empty and abandoned mine. There happened to be no sign that any civilization has ever touched this remote planet aside from the mine. But then we got into the mine and discovered a chamber containing ancient alien ruins. We will be broadcasting this week's show from the ruins interior. Additional, we recently were invited to meet a galactic ambassador whose head was shaped just like a cheese. He had a very sharp mind.
It's X-37 here, the synthetic first mate of the starship Pentameter. Our journey through space has taken us to many unusual places where we have seen many unusual life forms. We recently encountered a species of 2-foot-tall primates that, because of their immense covering in fur, appeared to be 6 feet tall. They were unforgettable. My captain is the last human being in the galaxy. Following the destruction of his home planet with the incredibly boring name of Earth, we have been drifting through space on the starship Pentameter, reciting poems and avoiding the enforcers of the galaxy-spanning Krell Empire, along with their bounty hunters that see the last human as a specimen to be placed in the Krell's Imperial Zoo. Right now, we are preparing to broadcast from inside some ancient ruins we found where Krell Outpost 21372 used to be. These other ruins which, for today, double as my lab. To pass the time, I employ my planet-sized intellect solving the galaxy's most pressing scientific dilemmas.
You're supposed to be setting up the broadcast space, X-37, not conducting any of your weird experiments. I'm sick of having to repair damaged equipment.
No, everything is fine. You banned me from doing any more experiments, remember?
That's right. I hope you stick to that.
Sucker. I'm still working on a variety of organic chemistry problems. The subject matter is quite hard. It creates all kinds of problems. Uh-oh, something is wrong. I think I'd better duck.
What in deep space happened here? X-37, I thought you said you weren't conducting any more experiments.
I'm Ari. Can't you some come glitch?
All right, let's just bring up the interface. And 3, 2, 1, and hello and welcome to the show. We are currently broadcasting from some ancient alien ruins near the vanished colony of Krell Outpost 21372. I'm the Deaf Rider, and no matter what your species, number of heads, or planet of origin, you are all very welcome here. In other news, confusion reigned during a diplomatic meeting between galactic proponents of the metric and imperial measurement systems. The disruption arose when an imperial ambassador misheard a request from his metric counterpart as, "Take me to your liter." Okay, folks, welcome on in. I can see we've got a bunch of visitors here already. Welcome back, Daffodil41 and Ozjohn D. Lovely to see you with us as well. Welcome in. It's been great to see you guys arrive today. Welcome in my very helpful mods, Robotham J and Tim Tam, who are here to help moderate the show today. Some quick explanations. We've got some rules on the site that I need to make you a little bit aware of, so I'll bring those up. The rules are pretty simple. Be kind, be respectful, keep the language clean. We welcome kids and families to this stream. Don't go asking for or giving away any personal information just for your own protection. Don't spam our commands. Don't spam or promote yourself to other viewers unless, you've spoken to me about it first. Be curious, be willing to join in, and take on a role within our universe. That last one is an optional command, but a number of people who have joined our show have introduced themselves as coming from various planets and being of various species, and just adds to the fun if you're willing to join in that way, so go right ahead. With the exception of that last rule, which is, of course, optional, the rest are not, and unfortunately, violators will be banned. We've also got some fun interactive commands that you can type into the chat if you want to use them. Oh, Ozjohn D today is Leslie. Hi, Leslie. Great to have you with me. With us. I hope that you enjoy the show for as long as you're able to join us. Quickly going to go through the commands, get some of this housekeeping stuff out of the way. The first command is the !W commands, which lists all of the commands that you can type, and it'll appear in the chat there. The show poetry request list is !SL, and we have a number of others that allow you to interact. You can, if you wish to, give us some applause with the !W applause command. On fire, party, wow, cool, amazing will allow you to tell us what you think if you like what we're doing. There are some other commands on the site that allow you to hug other members of the chat, throw them, attack them, sling them, or even drop a bomb. So those are our commands that are available to you to help pass the time. We have a few elements of our setup that are worth knowing about. Oh, thank you, Tim Tam, for turning on the song list. the poetry list where you can make requests for poems as part of our show. We are a request show, so should you want a poem, please check out our request list and select a poem for us to read. On our screen, you can see a few helpful features there. We have the chat where you can participate and talk with myself and with other members of the chat audience. We have our famous punometer up here in the right-hand side, where any wonderful puns left here by in the chat by our visitors will be awarded stars. And I'll place a star up there for every pun that a member adds to the chat. And we'll see if we can reach 5 stars today. This week's featured poet is Dylan Thomas. So this week we're looking at the poems of Dylan Thomas as part of our show. So look forward to those. We also have our poem list up here where you can see what's coming up. At the moment, it's populated with 5 poems, but those are just so that I've got some poems there to go on with if people are feeling a little bit shy about requesting poems themselves. If you're interested in going to the poem list, you can find it. It looks like this. And you can click on a request to select a poem just by following the streamer song list link that appears in the chat. Okie doke. I think that takes care of all of that. If you happen to be visiting today and what's this? Oh no, I get ads on your phone. Oh no. I'm sorry that you may be getting an ad right now. And my apologies if the broadcast is being interrupted by an ad. Where was I? Oh, I was going to say, if you happen to be visiting today and you haven't given me a follow, please consider giving me a follow. I would be very grateful for a follow today. Well, that's all of the housekeeping stuff out of the way, so why don't we get ourselves into our first poem? So we'll bring up the poetry screen. Our first poem of the day is our official, unofficial opening theme poem, The Invitation to Dinner. Invitation to Dinner by yours truly, the Deaf Writer. It occurred to me that poetry and food is something that should be enjoyed and savoured with some wine, and so I ask you out to dine with friends, of course, and I, your host, will beg your company the most. For were you to absent yourself, there's not enough of worldly wealth to compensate me for the grief of losing your good company. And that was our initial poem for this week. The Invitation to Dinner. Let's see what's coming up next. Our next poem is our first by Dylan Thomas. We'll start looking at. And please jump in and ask for some poems in the request list. but we're going to do The Song of the Mischievous Dog by Dylan Thomas, our first featured poem for this week. The Song of the Mischievous Dog, written in 1925 by Dylan Thomas. Oh, welcome in, Fizzban DM from the planet of Barton 46. Marvellous to see you. What ho in return. Thanks for dropping by. I hope you enjoy the show. So, the Song of the Mischievous Dog by Dylan Thomas. There are many who say that a dog has its day and a cat has a number of lives. There are others who think that a lobster is pink and that bees never work in their hives. There are fewer, of course, who insist that a horse has a horn and 2 humps on its head. And a fellow who jests that a mare can build nests is as rare as a donkey that's red. Yet in spite of all this, I have moments of bliss, for I cherish a passion for bones. And though doubtful of biscuit, I'm willing to risk it, and I love to chase rabbits and stones. But my greatest delight is to take a good bite at a calf that is plump and delicious. And if I indulge in a bite at a bulge, let's hope you won't think me too vicious. And there we had The Song of the Mischievous Dog by Dylan Thomas, our first featured poem of the day. And lovely to see so many people joining me today. That's wonderful. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Poems about dogs are always great. Yes, they are. And this gives us a second poem about dogs for our list. Previous to this, we had Puppy and I by A. Milne, which seemed to be something of a favourite amongst the visitors here. Gets requested quite frequently. But right now, we're going to get a few fun facts about Dylan Thomas, the poet, brought to us by X37.
Hi. While you're selecting a poetry request, I thought I'd tell you some interesting facts from my colossal storage and retrieval system. Dylan Marley Thomas, 27th of October 1914 to the 9th of November 1953, was a Welsh poet. He was born in the town of Swansea. He published his first book of poetry in 1932. In addition to writing poetry, he was an excellent speaker. He toured the United Kingdom and the United States reciting his poems. He wrote works for radio, including A Child's Christmas in Wales and, of course, the very famous Under Milk Wood.
Thanks for that, X37. Last week, we were adding some famous poets to our collection of trading cards, and I might bring them up if I can. There's some of them. There's Edgar Allan Poe and William Shakespeare and J.R.R. Tolkien, and last week we added Sylvia Plath as a request from our audience. Who would we like to add this week to our collection of trading cards? So please, in the chat, if there is somebody you think that is worthy of a trading card to be designed just for them, let us know in the chat. I have been of the opinion that sportsmen and women and so on getting trading cards, it's all nice and fine, but I'd love to have trading cards for famous poets. And so we're building up our little collection. So throw in a poet that you think would be worthy of their own trading card in the chat today. Okie dokie. Let's see. We're going to see if we have any requests in the poem list today. So taking a quick look, we have the Ravens. So our first request of the day, Fizzband DM. Lord Byron was a good poet, but he also had addiction problems, which makes him even more like a sportsman. That's true. And we have a couple of his contemporaries already in the list, but I don't think we have a single Lord Byron poem. So for next week, I will add Lord Byron to our set of cards. And also, if you have a poem by Lord Byron that you think would be worth doing, I'd love to chase it down and add it to our poetry list. So please suggest your favourite Lord Byron poem to be added to our list. Alfred Lord Tennyson would be cool as a card as well. Well, I think we can manage that one. I've already got an image for Alfred Lord Tennyson, so it would be very easy to add him to our collection of cards. Lord Byron did a poem about a dog too, didn't he? That could be true. I'll see if I can track one down during the week and add it for next week. But in the meantime, The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe is our first request of the week. So, Edgar Allan Poe, The Raven. Here we are. And The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Written in 1845, and this one comes with some original art of mine. There is my drawing of the Raven, and there is my drawing of Edgar Allan Poe himself, added to our list. So, let's begin. Once upon midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this and nothing more." Distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here for evermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now to still the beating of my heart I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. Sir, said I, or Madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is, I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping, tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, Lenore? This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, Lenore. Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. Surely, said I, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, Nevermore! Much I marvelled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, Nevermore! Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, Doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore. But the raven, still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat, engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining, with the lamplight glowing o'er, she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent me respite, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore. Desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore. Tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked, upstarting, get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie your soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. And that was Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. So thank you very much for that. Oh, thank you for the fire, Fizban DM. I do enjoy doing The Raven when I have the opportunity. And here we are. What else is happening in our chat. Let me see if I can catch up on the chat a little bit. We've got a request of "Oh Captain, My Captain" by Walt Whitman. Robotham J, you must have had to restart your computer. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you got to hear your request, or a reasonable amount of it. And folks, I just remind you again, the request list is there. Feel free to jump on in and request some poems. I can see the poem request list on screen is starting to look very full. Could one of my mods jump in and remove some of the ones that we already have done? Invitation to dinner probably should disappear. And computer is running in. Oh, you still got to listen to it on your phone. Smart thinking, says FizzBandEM. There we go. That makes the list a little bit more manageable. And
yeah. Hello. It is I, X37. I'm hoping to tell a joke.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Alaska.
Alaska who?
I'll ask another person if you don't know the answer.
Oh, dear. Well, thanks for trying, X37. I think we should move into our second set of poems for the day. So, what have we got coming up? Oh, and Death Shall Hold No Dominion by Dylan Thomas, our second featured poem for the day. So let's jump into that one and see what we can find. And Death Shall Have No Dominion by Dylan Thomas. Hoping to tell a joke is a pretty forlorn hope for X37. Poor X37. He does keep trying, doesn't he? He does keep trying. Let's bring the poem up. And Death Shall Have No Dominion by our featured poet of the day, Dylan Thomas, written in 1933. And death shall have no dominion. Dead man naked, they shall be one with the man in the wind and the west moon. When their bones are picked clean and the clean bones gone, they shall have stars at elbow and foot. Though they go mad, they shall be sane. Though they sink through the sea, they shall rise again. Though lovers be lost, love shall not, and death shall have no dominion. And death shall have no dominion under the windings of the sea. They lying long shall not die windily, twisting on racks when sinews give way, strapped to a wheel, yet they shall not break. Faith in their hands shall snap in two, and the unicorn evils run them through. Split all ends up, they shan't crack, and death shall have no dominion. And death shall have no dominion. No more may gulls cry at their ears, or waves break loud on the seashores. Where blew a flower, may a flower no more lift its head to the blows of the rain. Though they be mad and dead as nails, heads of the characters hammer through daisies, breaking the sun till the sun breaks down, and death shall have no dominion. And that was Death Shall Have No Dominion. welcome in, Be Like Dory. Lovely to see you. I kind of glitched that one. It didn't quite get the rhythm the way it should be, so sorry about that, folks. It's not an easy poem to do, I have to admit. But that was "And Death Shall Have No Dominion." And let's jump back into here. Fizzband DM, great poem though. Thank you. Be Like Dory, hello. I'm lurking with some housework to do. Oh, well, you enjoy your housework? Well, yeah, that's a silly thing to say. You endure your housework, and hopefully you'll be a little bit entertained by some poetry in the background. Right now, we have some more fun facts for you from X37, our resident brain.
Hi. While you're all selecting a poem to request, I thought I'd tell you some more interesting facts about Dylan Thomas. Thomas is one of the famous people who appears on the cover of the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Thomas had bronchitis and asthma in childhood and struggled with these throughout his life. Thomas had one sibling, Nancy Miles, who was 8 years his senior. The children spoke only English, though their parents were bilingual in English and Welsh.
Thanks for that, X37. Let's see, what do we have by way of requests at the moment? We've got another of Edgar Allan Poe's. We're having a bit of a, you'd almost say we're featuring Edgar Allan Poe a little bit today. That's our second one. So I will wander over to Edgar Allan Poe and choose Annabel Lee. Annabel Lee. Annabel Lee, written in 1849 by Edgar Allan Poe. And here we go. Oh, no, made a mistake. Pressed the wrong thing. I should point out that we have some original art attached to this one as well. Here we have the Angel of Death and also Mr. Edgar Allan Poe himself as part of the illustration. Robotham J says he loves Poe, which in fact he really does. Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe. It was many and many a year ago in a kingdom by the sea that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that, long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that our high-born kingsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason as all men know in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we, and neither the angels in heaven above nor the demons down under the sea can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. A very creepy poem about love and obsession, with our protagonist spending his nights in the tomb beside his dead love. And that was Annabel Lee. I'll jump back in here. I'd be interested to know from the audience today, do these poems, do they bring questions to mind? Do they prompt thoughts, particularly with regard to "and death shall have no dominion"? I'd love to know, "and death shall hold no dominion." I'd love to know what thoughts that poem brings to mind. So please comment in the chat. Let us know what your thoughts are on the poem "and death shall hold and death shall hold no dominion." While you're thinking about that, we have another request in the list. "I felt a funeral in my brain," requested by who? By Robotham J, looking for some Emily Dickinson. So, while you're thinking about thoughts and things and questions that are prompted by poems, we'll go take a look at "I Felt a Funeral in My Brain." "I Felt a Funeral in My Brain" was written in 1896 by Emily Dickinson, and it is fundamentally it is a poem about having a terrible migraine. So, "I Felt a Funeral in My Brain" by Emily Dickinson. "I felt a funeral in my brain, and mourners to and fro kept treading till it seemed that sense was breaking through. And when they all were seated, a service like a drum kept beating till I thought my mind was going numb. And then I heard them lift a box and creak across my soul with those same boots of lead again. Then space began to toll, as all the heavens were a bell, and being but an ear, and I and silence, some strange race wrecked solitary here. And then a plank in reason broke, and I dropped down, and hit a world with every plunge, and finished knowing. Then I do love the ending of that poem, that sense of the pain getting so much that she passes out, But on the other side of it, there is then awakening to relief. And that was, I Felt a Funeral in My Brain by the marvelous Emily Dickinson. Let's have a look. Let's jump back and I'll have a look at what's going on in the chat. Hello again. Fizzban DM says, it brought to me thoughts of victory over death. Sounded almost biblical. Yeah, this was written very early in Dylan Thomas's life and does reflect his faith at the time, though even then it's somewhat ironic in tone. He later abandoned his faith as an adult, but it does have that element to it and is making direct reference to the ideas of victory over death, that even death should die. It's also making a reference to John Donne's poem, Death Be Not Proud, which feel free to request if it interests you to hear another poem on that particular theme. Fizzban DM says, as for Annabel Lee, its picture of him lying by his love's sepulchre by the sea reminds me of a picture of a scene in Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. I believe the main character's lost love died on a beach. I've not read Nabokov. I've read a number of the Russian authors, but Nabokov isn't one of them. Perhaps one day. Thank you for those comments. I appreciate it when the audience jumps in and shares a little bit of their thinking with me. It's hard to recommend. Right, okay. I honestly, I've not read any Nabokov, so I don't know anything about his writing at all. Not what the stories were about or anything. But if it's hard to recommend, maybe I'll take your word for it and consider myself maybe no less for not having read them at this point in time. What poems have we done? That was poem 3 for this set. I should point out to those of you who are visiting that we also have a Discord channel associated with the show that will let you know when we're going live and keep you up to date. It also has a number of bits and pieces attached to it that are worth knowing about as well. You can download for free our poetry book, which contains all of the poems that we read on the show, so you can read along if you so desire. Also, we have a special offer for our visitors, completely free, completely gratis, and the link is available on our Discord server. And it's a link to a game that was designed by my mod, Robotham J, a game to promote this very channel. So I'll take a moment just to show you the trailer that he put together for that. Would you like me to add the link in the chat? Yes, please. Pop the link in so that for any of our visitors who so choose, you can go download and play this game. It's great fun. It's a casual game. It's not too hard. A little space game where we're being pursued by the Krell. Let's take a look at the trailer. Poetry Quest, Flight from the Krell. And here's the game, a number of different stages and navigate your way through the obstacles, avoid getting chopped and so on, and see if you can escape the Krell in our ship, the starship Pentameter. My marvelous mod worked very hard designing this, and I have to say I'm very, very, very impressed by it. So jump on and enjoy this little freebie gift that's available via link from our Discord server. Back to our poems.
But before you do, I just wanted to tell another joke.
Uh-oh, another joke. All right, let's get it over with.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Saul.
Saul who?
Saul there is. There ain't no more.
Okay. I don't know. Could be getting better, could be getting worse. When X37 says another jokes, that implies the first one was a joke. Yeah. You know, I managed to become an affiliate a week ago, and as a result, they've given me some custom emotes that can be used in the chat by visitors, and one of those emotes is a groan emote, which I think could from time to time maybe possibly be an appropriate way to respond to poor X37. There it is. Groan by amongst the emotes. Thank you for bringing that one up. Okay, let's take a look at our first poem for our third set, and this one is the last of our featured poems for today. It is probably Dylan Thomas's most famous poem, Do Not Go Gentle into That Night. Do not go gentle into that good night. Do not go gentle into that good night. Written in 1951 by Dylan Thomas. And we have some art here. A picture of an angry man shaking his fist at the dying setting sun, as well as our illustration of Mr. Dylan Thomas himself. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their works had forked no lightning they, do not go gentle into that good night. Good men the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight, and learned too late they grieved it on its way, do not go gentle into that good night. Brave men near death who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, on that sad height, curse bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And that was Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night by Dylan Thomas, the last of our featured poems, or the last of the poems by our featured artist today. Thank you for the cheer, Fizzband DM. Much appreciated. I do enjoy that poem a great deal. I love the way it captures. I don't know. In the world, a lot of people see death as natural, or feel that we should see it as natural, and yet, for me, probably because of my Christian upbringing, I see death as an intrusion in our world, as an unwanted part of our world, as something that offends something deep inside us, something to be raged against, to be resisted wherever possible. So that particular poem kind of speaks to me in a strong way. And I guess Dylan Thomas losing his father, I lost my dad at a very early age, and yeah, it's one of those things that I relate to in his poetry. But enough of me. Let's get back to the poem list here. We've still got plenty of time for more poems, so please add some requests in. And while you're thinking about the poems, I think we'll ask X37 to give us a final set of facts about Mr. Dylan Thomas.
Hi again. I've got some more fun facts to give you from my colossal storage and retrieval system. Thomas was a teenager when many of his poems for which he became famous were published. And Death Shall Have No Dominion, Before I Knocked, and The Force That Through the Green Fuse Drives the Flower were all written in his teen years. At the outset of the Second World War, Thomas was worried about conscription and referred to his ailment as an unreliable lung. After initially seeking employment in a reserved occupation, he managed to be classified Grade 3, which meant that he would be among the last to be called up for service. Thomas supplemented his income by writing scripts for the BBC, which not only gave him additional earnings, but also provided evidence that he was engaged in essential war work. Dylan Thomas died on 9th of November 1953 in New York after beginning a speaking tour. While not an alcoholic himself, he was a heavy drinker, and his death was attributed to alcohol poisoning. His wife was an alcoholic and entered Alcoholics Anonymous after his passing.
Thanks for those somewhat sad facts about Dylan Thomas and the way his life ended. Let's take a look at what poems we have in our request list. Oh, Captain, My Captain, by Walt Whitman. So let me move forward through the list, through the pages, to where I can find Mr. Walt Whitman. Walt Whitman, Oh Captain, My Captain. Written about the death of Abraham Lincoln, written in 1865 in response to the death of Abraham Lincoln, who was taken so tragically when shot by John Wilkes Booth when visiting the theatre. a disgruntled actor who cried, Sic semper tyrannis, thus go all tyrants. And bring the screen up. O Captain, my Captain, our fearful trip is done. The ship has weathered every rack, the prize we sought is won. The port is near, the bells I hear, the people all exulting, while follow eyes the steady keel, the vessel grim and daring. But oh heart, 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 oh the bleeding drops of red, where on the deck my captain lies, fallen, cold, and dead. O Captain, my Captain, rise up and hear the bells. Rise up, for you the flag is flung, for you the bugle trills. For you bouquets and ribboned wreaths, for you the shores are crowding. For you they call, the swaying mass, their eager faces turning. Here, Captain, dear father, this arm beneath your head. It is some dream that on the deck you've fallen cold and dead. My captain does not answer, his lips are pale and still. My father does not feel my arm, he has no pulse nor will. The ship is anchored safe and sound, its voyage closed and done. From fearful trip the victor ship comes in with object won. Exult, O shores, and ring, O bells, but I with mournful tread walk the deck my captain lies, fallen, cold, and dead. And that was O Captain, My Captain by Walt Whitman, written in response to the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Let me have a look at what's been happening in the chat. No, it doesn't appear I've missed anything just recently. So yes, that was O Captain, My Captain by Walt Whitman for Fizzband DM. Thank you for requesting that poem. How familiar were you guys with the poems of Dylan Thomas before you visited the stream today? And did you find anything about his poetry surprising? I'd really love to hear your opinion on Mr. Dylan Thomas, especially if this is the first time you've encountered any of his poetry, or if it's the first time you've heard any of the poems beyond Do Not Go Gentle. So let me know, share with us in the chat your view. In the meantime, let's take a look at the next request on the occasion of more sackings. On the occasion of more sackings, who's asked for this one? On the occasion of more sackings? Fizzband DM for you on the occasion of more sackings. An original poem by yours truly. You must be feeling a little bit brave today to be asking for one of my original poems. Tim Tam, I didn't know until now that the captain was about Lincoln. Yes. Who had steered them all the way through the storm of the Civil War, only to be gunned down after its successful conclusion. Fizzband DM definitely knew Do Not Go Gentle, was interested that And Death Shall Have No Dominion was similarly reacting so strongly against death. Facts about his life were also very interesting. Oh, thank you for that. And thank you. Yes, I find Dylan Thomas really interesting. He lived a fairly self-destructive sort of a life. He was kind of something of a rock star in that he was a bit of a wild boy in the poetry set. And yeah, and his view of death is really interesting, and worth looking at further, I think, somewhere down the line. So back to On the Occasion of More Sackings, written over 20 years ago by yours truly. Bring in the screen. Never iron more than one shirt at a time. In today's job market, you may be here today and unemployed tomorrow. Be afraid. Be insecure, you'll work harder to make the wealthy more money. The aggregate of happiness will increase, at least for the rich. Agree to the new social contract that says you must pay in blood and loyalty and gratitude for the opportunity to be ripped off by an amoral, immoral corporation. In return, the corporation may do whatever it wants to you, regardless of the social vandalism involved. And yes, that was a rather cynical poem. By me. And in its defense, it was written in response to the fact I'd just taken on a job and discovered that I was being paid to do the same job as my predecessor, who they'd just gotten rid of, for $10,000 a year less than what the job had previously been worth. It was at the period of corporatization where they had just brought in individual workplace contracts for the first time. And so it was my first job, and I was being paid $10,000 below the award, despite the fact that our Prime Minister at the time was saying that nobody would be worse off under independent workplace agreements or individual contracts. So yes, I was a little bit ticked off at the time that I wrote that one. Okay, so where are we now? That was our third poem for the set. I have a number of friends of mine who are streamers, and I thought it would be fun to just give them a shout out and promote them to you a little bit. They're all brilliant musicians. The week before last, I was promoting Vintage Muso, who is definitely my favorite amongst the streamers. I also was letting people know about Patrick White last week, and this week I thought I would promote Tonecaster. Tonecaster is actually, I can't remember whether he's German or Austrian, but he is a first-class musician. Take a short listen to some of his music here and now. This is Tonecaster, and he is a phenomenal guitarist, well worth tuning into. He's not playing this week, he's taking a break, taking a bit of leave, but he'll be back again in a week or two, and worth remembering because his skill on the guitar is immense and really worth checking out. So that was Tonecaster, who you can find on Twitch meantime...
Hello? It is I, X-37, with another joke.
Okay. Have you been hearing what some of my audience have been saying? I don't think they're that impressed with your insistence that you're telling jokes.
They just lack taste.
I see. Okay.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Ida.
Ida who?
I don't know. I've got amnesia.
I must be listening to you too much, because that one almost sounded like it could create a chuckle. Almost. Well, we are now up to our final set for the day. We could use one more request in the list. What's that? Please give me amnesia so I can forget these knock-knock jokes. Fair enough. You know, I don't think we've had any puns contributed today. There's only a little bit of time left if you want to get some puns on the board in our punometer before the day is over. But in the meantime, one more requested poem would be great to add to our list so that we can finish out our fourth set for the day. But to start with, let's look at Hope Springs Eternal in Fools. Hope Springs Eternal in Fools is another original poem by yours truly. Bring it up. Hope Springs Eternal in Fools. There's a hole in the hull. The ship is sinking. An iceberg is about to crush us. The engine room is on fire and our cargo is explosive. The crew are all dead. The rudder is broken. We're 1,000 miles from our destination, but I just felt a slight breeze blowing in the right direction, and I'm sure we can still make it. And that was Hope Springs Eternal in Fools. It has been observed on more than one occasion that I am somewhat of a cynic and appear quite pessimistic. But as my wife often points out to me, I am an oddly optimistic pessimist. I look at all the terrible things that are going on and latch onto that slight breeze in hope that things will not be as bad as I perhaps fear they will. So that's what Hope Springs Eternal in Fools is about. It's about me and my weirdly optimistic pessimism. And that was our first poem of the set. Let's come back to our main chamber here amongst the strange alien ruins that we've been broadcasting from.
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Yes, X-37?
I think we're about to get a visit from Deep Thought.
As usual, the timing is terrible.
Don't shoot the messenger. I just thought you should know.
Well, thanks for letting me know. We'll take a look. But in the meantime, let's have a look at our next requested poem. This will probably be our last request for the day. The Knight Whose Armour Didn't Squeak by A. Milne. While we wait to see what Deep Thought has to say to us. Should he actually arrive? The Knight Whose Armour Didn't Squeak by the marvellous A. Milne. And here we have some original art by me to look at as well. So I'll bring up the screen and briefly zoom in on my knight whose armour did not squeak, and also the illustration of the poet A. Milne. Let's move forward. Of all the knights in Appledore, the wisest was Sir Thomas Thom. He multiplied as far as 4, and knew what 9 was taken from to make 11. He could write a letter to another knight. No other knight in all the land could do the things which he could do. Not only did he understand the way to polish swords, but knew what remedy a knight should seek, whose armour had begun to squeak. And if he didn't fight too much, it wasn't that he didn't care for blips and buffetings and such, but felt that it was hardly fair to risk by frequent injuries a brain as delicate as his. His castle, Castle Tom, was set conveniently on a hill, and daily when it wasn't wet, he paced the battlements until some smaller knight who couldn't swim should reach the moat and challenge him. Or sometimes, feeling full of fight, he hurried out to scour the plain, and seeing some approaching knight, he either hurried home again or hid, and when the foe was past, blew a triumphant trumpet blast. One day when good Sir Thomas Thom was resting in a handy ditch, the noises he was hiding from, though very much the noises which he'd always hidden from before, seemed somehow less. Or was it more? The trotting horse, the trumpet's blast, the whistling sword, the armour's squeak, these, and especially the last, had clattered by him all the week. Was this the same, or was it not? Something was different, but what? Sir Thomas raised a cautious ear and listened as Sir Hugh went by, and suddenly he seemed to hear, or not to hear, the reason why this stranger made a nicer sound than other knights who lived around. Sir Thomas watched the way he went. His rage was such he couldn't speak. For years they'd called him down in Kent the knight whose armour didn't squeak. Yet here and now he looked upon another knight whose squeak had gone. He rushed to where his horse was tied. He spurred it to a rapid trot. The only fear he felt inside about his enemy was not how sharp his sword, how stout his heart, but has he got too long a start? Sir Hugh was singing hand on hip when something sudden came along and caught him a terrific blip right in the middle of his song. A thunderstorm, he thought, of course, and toppled gently off his horse. Then said the good Sir Thomas Thom, dismounting with a friendly air, Allow me to extract you from that heavy armor that you wear. At times like these, the bravest knight may find his armor much too tight. 100 yards or so beyond the scene of brave Sir Hugh's defeat, Sir Thomas found a useful pond, and careful not to wet his feet, he brought the armor to the brink and flung it in and watched it sink. So ever after, more and more, the men of Kent would proudly speak of Thomas Thom of Appledore, the knight whose armour didn't squeak, whilst Hugh, the knight who gave him best, squeaks just as badly as the rest. And that was The Knight Whose Armour Didn't Squeak by A. Milne. Let's jump back into the ruins where we're broadcasting from today. Oh dear, I think I can hear him coming.
Hello, mere mortal. It is I, Deep Thought, the greatest intellect in the universe.
You know, the more you say it, the less likely it is to be true.
Don't be impertinent.
What do you want?
What do you think I want? A poem, of course.
Okay, what poem would you like?
A poem of immense emotion and character.
Uh-huh.
A poem to bring a tear to a glass eye.
You're spreading it a little thick, don't you think?
Whatever. Recite for me How Doth the Little Crocodile by Lewis Carroll.
Okay, let me find your poem. How Doth the Little Crocodile by Lewis Carroll. Lewis Carroll. How Doth the Little Crocodile. Okie doke, here we go. How Doth the Little Crocodile for Deep Thought. Let's bring up the screen and get underway. And this, I think, will be our very last poem for the day. How doth the little crocodile improve his shining tail, and pour the waters of the Nile on every golden scale? How cheerfully he seems to grin, how neatly spreads his claws, and welcomes little fishes in with gently smiling jaws. And that was How Doth the Little Crocodile by Lewis Carroll. There we go. And it's good to be back in here. Let's see.
Deep Thought. Thank you for the poem.
Well, I read it for you. I'd love it if you'd answer a question for me now.
Assuredly. My colossal intellect has already divined what you wish to know. Identical twins do not have the same fingerprints.
That wasn't what I was going to ask.
It wasn't? Are you sure?
Quite sure.
Oh well, what do you want to know?
I really want to know what this ancient structure is for.
Wait, where are we right now?
Inside the pyramid on Krell Outpost 21372.
Are you mad? You're inside the Raceland Beacon?
Yes, and I want to know what it is.
Have you touched anything?
No, I've...
Good. There's still a chance you can get out unscathed.
What?
I've said all I'm going to say. I'm leaving.
Wait, tell me what's going on. Damn it. Well, I guess deep thought has disappeared. What can I say?
Captain, are you okay? There's a large energy buildup coming from... Ah! Captain, are you there?
I'm here, X-37. I...
Captain?
I saw... It's all confusing. It's like something was downloaded into my head.
We need to get out of here, Captain.
I think I agree with you. The Emperor needs to know about this.
About what?
They're back, X-37. They're back and they're going to kill everyone. Ask the Krell to get an envoy to meet us between here and our next investigation point.
You're not making any sense. But okay. In the meantime, what are you going to do?
I'm going to roll the credits.
And
with that, folks, I'm going to roll the credits. Oh, I've got a little comment in there. The little crocodile really doth. I'm going to award that a star. It's the only star we've got on the board today, but I'm going to award it a star anyway because, hey, getting a pun on the board seems to me to be something worth celebrating. So thank you so much for that. And thanks, mods, for getting rid of that. Hopefully it didn't come up in the chat for everybody else, but we had a visitor who is a bot trying to sell us stuff, and hopefully we banned them before they became a problem. So thank you for that, my moderators. Let's jump into the credits. Original poems by the deaf writer are copyright and cannot be used without permission. All other poetry is in the public domain. The artwork on the site is licensed through Envato, GameDeveloperStudio.com, or Microsoft. Poem illustrations are original works created by the deaf writer and subject to copyright. All sounds are licensed from Envato. The recording of Gymnopody is provided royalty-free by museopen.org. The Godot animation was provided by Jack Robotham. The Poetry Quest game is also provided by Jack Robotham. This production is copyright 2025. No Krell were harmed during the production of this stream. Look, thanks for joining us, folks. A threat is coming, something that may cause the extinction of all life in our galaxy. I need to get in contact with the Krell as soon as possible. But for now, I wish you all a fine so long, farewell, and thanks for all the fish.